Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. It's good to be together today on another Wednesday, another installation of CEP Community Live. We're so glad that you're here to join us in our online community. And if you haven't been here before or you're returning, this really is meant to be a welcoming space for people who are living with early stage memory changes, their care partners, the people who love and take care of them, and really anyone who's interested in learning more about brain health. This program is part of our outreach efforts here at Emory's Guizetta Brain Health Center to really have a way for our staff of brain health experts to be able to connect with our community and share all this helpful information and a lot of really practical tools. One of our goals is to give you a little bit more connection to community. And so hopefully you're here to engage a little bit today as we get into this session. And we really do take things one step, one day, one new insight at a time here at CEP. So feel free to just listen in today. This session is going to be recorded and posted to our YouTube channel, so you don't have to worry about remembering everything or furiously writing notes. It'll be made available for you. So you may be asking, what is the Cognitive Empowerment Program? And that's what we are here at Emory. The Cognitive Empowerment Program is a lifestyle research initiative that comes together. And what we want to do is each week to share with you some of these real world topics that matter. And what we share is always based on research. The things that research say matters after this diagnosis are the things you see on your screen. Things like nutrition and go into counseling and being safe and functional at home and being active. And so as we come together, we're really presenting these evidence-based ideas that you can use in your daily life. The things that work for you, we offer you to take on and use at your own pace. And the things that don't work for you, maybe they don't work today, they might be useful 2 years from now, or maybe not at all. And we just encourage you to leave those things behind. But what I will say is everything that we do and offer is informed by the fact that this whole floor here at the Cognitive Empowerment Program is a living lab. Maureen and I work every single day with people who are diagnosed with mild cognitive impairment and their care partners. And we really do learn from people in their everyday life about this diagnosis. And we offer just a different mix of things like educational talks, gentle movement sessions, and really that are informed by conversations and the lived experiences of not just our research, but the people that we see every single day. And I think that's something different about us here at CEP is we're not just in the books and the research, but we are in the community and we're sitting in front of people, having conversations with people every single day. And one of the things that the research shows us is that there are so many everyday actions that you can do in your home to delay cognitive decline, to keep what you have now as long as possible, to support your brain health. And on the research side of things, when Maureen and I first started this program, there were no drugs or infusions or anything like that for this early stage. And we're really hopeful starting out this year with the fact that there are 2 new drugs you can take here at Emory. It's not for everybody. There's infusion centers. There's a lot of research going on right now in labs that is just really positive. So our first quarter is going to be talking this year about, the foundations of brain resilience. Like we said, we want to beef up and protect our brains and hold on to what we have now as long as possible. So we want to talk about some of the key topics that help you to build this foundation. We're going to talk about everything we normally talk about, movement, emotional well-being, independence. But this year we're really highlighting some of the latest research coming out of the Lancet research publication that says, there are 14 things that you can do in your life now to help slow that cognitive decline. We talked a lot about this with Dr. Amy in January at the beginning of the year. One of the things that she mentioned as part of that top 14 is hearing and vision, which is what we're going to be talking about today. And Maureen and I have been in my office talking about hearing and vision a lot this afternoon, because it's one of those things that I don't think as many people think about, how much being able to see everything and hear everything helps us be able to take in all the information, have all the information, and make sound choices. And it's a lot more complex than that. But we're going to be getting into that with Maureen Burke, who is an occupational therapist today. If you're a care partner who's been having a struggle getting your husband to wear his hearing aids, don't we see that all the time?
You're not alone.
You're not alone. We see this a lot. If you haven't been wearing your glasses all the time, we're going to talk a little bit about that today and why you might make a different choice this year.
So we're talking about our senses today, all right? So as you see, the importance of our sensory system and how this ties into our brain health, but overall health, right? Our interaction with our environment. So I think a lot of us probably can pull it back from middle school science class maybe, or high school science class, and we learned about all the different senses, right? The sense of sight and hearing and smell, taste, touch, and then something called proprioception and vestibular. I call that kind of the sixth sense because that's not usually included in all of the first five. We're going to talk about each one of those. Okay, I'm not advancing for some reason here. Let's see, there we go. Thank you, Ian. So first we're going to talk about sight or vision. And we know it's so important, right, to have our eyes to be able to take in everything around us, the light, different shades of light, high, low light, the different colors in the color spectrum to be able to see those clearly, shapes and depth. And of course, all of that relates to really everything we do in life, right? We're reading, we're driving, we're walking, we're engaging with others, just very important. And without it, things like falls or misjudging distances as you're stepping up onto a curb, not being able to see things in the kitchen when you're trying to get a meal together, and just difficulty interacting overall with the environment. And like what Megan mentioned, sometimes clients and here and also when I've worked in hospitals and nursing homes, some people will tend to be more resistant to care or more difficult, but it's not that these clients are being difficult, it's because they're not hearing and that hasn't been identified and treated accordingly. So we're going to talk about it's just really important to try to enhance if any of our senses are slipping. And I guess our next slide. Let's see here. That's okay. Thanks, Ian. So our sense of hearing, good thing Ian has his headphones on over there, can hear me very well and forgets these slides. But the sense of hearing is so important to engage in life, communicate with others, talk about what's going on. And if you're sitting, in a group of people and you're not quite hearing everything, you're lacking that brain stimulation and you're lacking the enjoyment of socializing with friends and family. So the ability to detect sound and speech and volume, and even the direction of where it's coming from. These are the basic senses that our ancestors had when they're out hunting, right? They're listening for things in the forest, in the woods, and being able to detect the direction of where their next prey is coming from. But hearing impairments create social withdrawal. And I emphasize that in bold here because socialization is one of the key points that we talk about here at CEP in the importance of engaging with others. As I look around this space, there's people over here getting coffee together and chatting. There's others going into a classroom and learning about memory strategies. There's another music or art class going on down the hallway. They're all engaging. And so that's what it's about. So we'll discuss further as it relates to the brain health. Next is a sense of touch, and there's lots of varieties in the sense of touch. Sharp, dull, hot and cold, a light touch. So all of those are just forms of sensory as well. And then we have taste. It's kind of interesting. There is actually some information out there that taste will affect your appetite, will affect how well you eat, but the inability to do so, people maybe just don't want to eat because they're not smelling it, they're not tasting it, and weight loss can occur because of that. And sometimes folks will put too much salt on or too much sugar because they're trying to get that taste that just isn't present. Next is a sense of smell. Can we go back to the slide? There we go. Sense of smell. So again, that's going to help maintain the appetite. And if you smell some wonderful dinner, pot roast and potatoes, or pizza cooking in the oven, that's going to stimulate our appetite and get us interested in food, right? But it's also a safety aspect. So we want to make sure that if we smell smoke in the house, that we know what to do. Or if there's spoiled food, we're going to stay away from it. And interestingly, the loss of the sense of smell is also identified as an early sign of having a brain issue or some sort of a decline in the brain functioning. And then proprioception and vestibular, these are kind of two long words here. Proprioception is the ability to identify where our body is in space without our vision. We have receptors in our joints and muscles, and we know where our body is without looking at it. So without this, balance and coordination issues could ensue. And then also vestibular, that's just keeping our balance, and that comes from the inner ear. And without that system kind of in balance, we're going to have unsteady walking and maybe some dizziness and falls. And some of those could be corrected with different types of treatment. You'd have to talk to your doctor. Okay. So some of the things that we already know, that you already know, is the importance of controlling your high blood pressure. Really, really important to living a healthy, brain healthy, physically healthy life. Must maintain that level. So you want to make sure you're in touch with your primary care doctor, as well as managing diabetes. Diabetes is critical, can be managed, and it must be managed in order to live a healthy life and not suffer some of the consequences of diabetes. Keeping your weight in a healthy range, avoiding smoking and excessive alcohol. I put excessive alcohol because I'm not going to really label what that is, but roughly I think it's about 2 glasses of wine per day is probably kind of the baseline of where the maximum amount that an average person should be intaking if they choose to drink alcohol. The next thing is being physically active, which of course we talk about that a lot at CEP, and we will remind you, 150 minutes of exercise per week is what we recommend. It sounds like a lot, but it's just maybe a 5-minute, or excuse me, oh, thank you. I have a new control. We can see how that works. Thank you very much. So the exercise is very important, and you don't have to be a marathoner to be physically active. You could just park your car further back in the parking lot as you're going to the grocery store. Give yourself a few extra steps that way. Maybe take a walk down to the mailbox, take a walk down the street. You could take a walk through the mall. There's lots of ways you can do it without not being able to talk at the same time. So we do want you to be able to talk and exercise at the same time. And then of course we mentioned a lot about being socially connected. And I don't know, Ian, I think we have a little problem here still. Thank you. We're making this work. Thank you for your patience here. We usually have multiple controls that work just well, but for some reason they're not working now, but they did in our practice session. So anyways, we don't see guys like this around too much anymore because we have really nice hearing aids on the market. So our brain health is directly connected to our senses. And we know that the loss of hearing accelerates the loss of cognition. So if you are advised to use some sort of an aid for hearing, really recommend it, because if not, it will affect your cognition, a decline in your brain health, and it increases the risk for dementia. And here's a little graph which I thought was interesting in identifying hearing loss. Hearing loss is identified as the inability to hear 20 decibels. Those are sound levels. or better in both ears. I thought, my goodness, what is 20 decibels? What does that actually sound like? And so it sounds like a ticking watch, a whisper, or rustling leaves. So that's what we should be able to hear in both ears, okay? Hearing aids reduce the risk. Again, this is bolded, this is really important. Hearing aids reduce the rate of cognitive decline in older adults who are at risk of dementia by almost 50% over a 3-year period. Hearing aids are amazing products, and please think about using them. They apparently over 1.5 billion people are affected with hearing loss, and this is across the world. Of course, many people in some areas don't have access to an audiologist or an ear, nose, and throat doctor, speech language pathologist, but we are here where we are in the United States. And so please know that we have the benefit to, or they have the ability to be able to correct these things. And we'll go to the next slide. Thank you. So the loss of vision is this woman is looking so closely to try to read that highest level word there that says game. But the loss of vision also can accelerate dementia. Okay, that is the bottom line here. And next slide, please. And if there's something what the researchers call dual sensory loss, that means a loss of hearing and a loss of vision. And what this does is compound the ill effects, further increasing the risk for dementia. This is important stuff, and the good news here, though, as you see on the screen, that both are treatable. And it's very well documented in Lancet, the World Health Organization. There's a clear link between vision impairments and cognitive issues in older adults. But there are cures available. The CDC also had some research out saying people who were 45 and older who had visual impairments were 4 times higher at risk of developing functional limitations. So what that means is that it's creating a poorer quality of life, social isolation, and chronic conditions, because these people are unable to perform what they used to do: go out with their friends, go to the movies, belong to a book group, anything like that. Just that vision loss will limit those abilities. And so here are the solutions. Number 1, get your vision checked. And number 2, have your hearing checked. And we're going to go through and talk about kind of what the guidelines are and how you can get that done. So a few things first, a couple signs of low hearing. If you're concerned that your loved one may be experiencing some problems, but they're not really recognizing it. You notice someone having difficulty having a conversation or listening to what the conversation is in a busy environment. So like you're out at dinner with a few people and one person is just kind of sitting there, not really engaging, attempting to hear what's going on. A lot of times people do some physical motions. They might be leaning forward on the table and really trying to get it, but they're not. So that's one sign of low hearing. The other is if a person is constantly turning up the volume on the TV, on the radio, whatever it may be, turning up so they can hear it better. And then thirdly is ringing or roaring or weird noise or pressure that one feels in the ear. And next slide, please. So here's the rundown for you. If you're interested in getting your hearing checked, which I hope you would if you haven't done it in a while, healthy people ages 18 to 40, just every 3 to 5 years. Adults age 40 to 60, 1 to 3 times a year. And then 60 and plus, they're recommending that it be done annually. And to do this, you would see an audiologist. And an audiologist, sometimes you may need a referral to see them, maybe not. Usually Medicare will just accept that, but it's always good to check with your insurance company just to make sure. So the audiologist will do an extensive test, give you the results on your hearing, and then would make recommendations as to whether or not they believe you should have assistance, some sort of hearing aid, and then they would also assist you with that in learning how to use them. Okay. If you have greater concerns, then you would then see an ear, nose, and throat doctor. If there was something more structurally, perhaps, or something that the audiologist was concerned about, they would recommend you then to see a physician for that. So again, I know we talked about this a few slides ago, but I'm reinforcing this. Really important. The use of hearing aids can reduce the rate of cognitive decline. It is an easy solution. in older adults who are at risk of dementia by over 50% over a 3-year period. Really, really important news. So let's talk about vision now. There are a lot of corrective measures for vision, but number one, you got to get your appointment scheduled and put it on your calendar. Okay. And so, the average for someone 65 and older and getting their eyes checked would be 1 to 2 years, as long as they're not having any significant issues. It would be considered a comprehensive exam. What the doctors are really looking for is to see if there's any disease processes going on, like glaucoma, macular degeneration, or cataracts, and it will include dilating the eyes. And I will tell you, I, as a young person, never needed glasses until I got to be like roughly 40-ish. And then I noticed I needed readers, right? So I'd get the 100, the 150, kind of went up the ladder till I was at 3. And then I realized, gee, this is no fun. Then I had a little difficulty driving at night. I noticed that there's something different. You know, it's harder to drive when it's dark and it's rainy. So I'm going to go to an ophthalmologist and see, you know, if there's any recommendations. So I went in, and guess what? I had cataracts. And so I thought they happened when you're like 80, but apparently not. So I've had my cataracts taken care of, and now I'm glasses free. So now you know more about me than a lot of my friends and family do. But it's dramatic. I no longer need you know, any glasses, anything. So it's wonderful, and I would recommend that you do it. It's not painful. It's easy to do. You do have to take a lot of eye drops after the fact, but you can manage that. And it's really worth it to get all of your vision back. So your vision checks, generally 40 years old, 5 to 10 years, 40 to 54, as you see here, every 2 to 4 years, 55 to 64, every 1 to 3 years, unless you feel like you have an issue and you want to be evaluated. So you just go ahead and schedule that visit if you have any concerns, and you know, get the full picture of what's going on in a baseline so the doctor can follow you. So as I mentioned, there are a lot of things to do. Glasses are the number one easiest way to correct a hearing, or a vision loss, and then the surgical laser techniques like having cataracts removed. So, and also just at home, you can brighten up the lights by adding brighter white lighting. That helps a lot with being able to see the environment. So wearing reading glasses, this one's important. This is the research right here. Wearing reading glasses showed significant improvements by better cognitive scoring. That's it, just reading glasses. And so very important. And removing cataracts can lower the dementia risk by almost 30%. And vision loss and diabetes, we're going to touch on that. As many of you know, diabetes can damage the eyes over time. And there's something that's called diabetic retinopathy. That's a leading cause of blindness in working age adults. So please talk to your doctor, your eye doctor, and your primary care doctor about managing this. And the American Diabetes Association recommends for someone who has a diagnosis initially with type 2 diabetes that they go right in and get a full evaluation to get a baseline. And those diagnosed with type 1 diabetes are asked to undergo the same type of comprehensive vision test, but not until about 5 years later. And again, talk to your primary care doctor for advice or further information or referrals. They can offer a lot of information to you. So our eyes generally do change with age, just like the rest of our bodies do, right? So here are a few of the things that we experience. It's a little bit harder to transition light to dark, dark to light. So if you're outside in the sunshine and then you come inside where it's darker, it just takes longer for the eyes to adjust. Nothing unusual, just give yourself that time. Glare is a concern when driving. For adults, we hear that a lot of our clients here will complain of that. And a few have gone in for driving evaluations, and turns out the only thing they really needed was to wear yellow tinted sunglasses. That was the recommendation. And the yellow tinted sunglasses, which you can buy on Amazon, a 2-pack for about $10, offer visual contrast. And that was the concern with driving for those folks. Polarized sunglasses are also an option. They may work for you. They're a darker tint. You could try those out as well. And we interpret color differently. So we tend to see on the color spectrum here that the yellow down to the reds, those are the colors that aging eyes see better. It's because of the change of the cells, the photoreceptor cells in our eyes that just change and disappear and diminish over time. It's also, the blues and the greens tend to turn more gray and just kind of fade away a little bit. So that's why we prefer some of those high contrasts. And you know, if you see it as stop at like a crosswalk or sometimes in the roadway, you will see yellow as a color that's used to grab people's attention, and I'm sure that's why. But again, also brighter lighting always helps, and automatic lighting helps, especially with the population that we work with here who have memory concerns, memory issues, where it just eliminates the step of needing to turn the switch on, turn the switch off, up the stairs, down the stairs, and the automatic sensor activated lighting or motion activated lighting will just come on and off automatically. And so it kind of reduces the need for that cognitive load. So our peripheral vision, excuse me, is also something that shrinks with time, and that's our ability to see out of the corner of our eyes. This usually starts to decrease around the age of 45. So basically, for the driving purposes, at least in the state of Georgia, they want us to have about 7 degrees of rotating. So that's about this way and then over to this way. So your chin, not even to your shoulder, just enough to see side to side like that. And that's good enough to drive in the state of Georgia. And next slide. Okay, well, you know, if you know me, you know that I like to talk about how you can improve your safety and decrease your risk of falling. So fall risk, unfortunately, does increase with poor vision, right? Because we're not seeing the edge of the step or we're not seeing the whole picture. So again, those routine eye exams are really important. Dementia itself is going to change how we interpret our environment visually, which is also a concern, but that bright white lighting and sharper contrasts will help. And we'll talk about, and I'll show you some pictures in a few minutes. Spatial orientation is something that I wanted to mention. It's not horribly common, but when it happens, it's very concerning to the person that has this happen to them and also to their families. And spatial orientation is the ability to know where you are in space. And so this skill is something that all creatures have. So a bird knows to fly out and bring the food back to the nest where her babies are, right? So when it happens to humans, they're out in a human place, walking down the street at the grocery store, and then suddenly does not remember how to get back to their home. So the internal mapping, there's a glitch. Right? And that can be very frightening, has happened to some of our clients here. And so something that I've recommended is a program called Project Lifesaver. And Project Lifesaver is geared towards those who have Alzheimer's and also autism. It's a personal tracking system. It's a little bracelet with a tracker in it. Looks like a watch. The great thing about this is it's a national program, and so law enforcement from Georgia, New York, Florida, California all work together. They also have international companies that help. The great thing about Project Lifesaver is that they have a very high and safe return rate of the clients who are lost. And every time I hear, you know, which I'm sure you do too, of people who have wandered away and they just are not found until it's too late. So if you have a concern about your loved one getting lost or yourself getting lost, really please consider that Project Lifesaver. Next, I'm showing you a picture of stairs that are not ideal. They're not ideal for older eyes. They're not ideal for younger eyes. So this dark, busy pattern can be very confusing. It's hard to see the edge of the step. So very easy to miss a step, right? So low pile carpeting is recommended. This may be low pile, but we don't like all the design. A simple low pile with a low padding is recommended because it has more traction too. The next slide, please. And here are some examples. So just adding some sort of a strip to the edge. See, the edge of the tread is covered. And it's because most falls happen by missing the edge, and particularly on the last step as you go downstairs. So the final step on your descent is a place where most people fall. So if you can think of that, either put a strip on that bottom step, but also hold on to the railing In a perfect world, railings would be extended beyond that final step, but most of us don't have that. But just be mindful, hold on to the railing and add a strip of something. Now, and the lighting, of course, is also important. We had one client who had tripped on her stairs and broken her ankle. And so she decided to just paint a white strip along the tread of her outdoor decking. It was a great idea. And again, it's the same concept. She had lighting out there, and so it's just to add that visual contrast that we were talking about. And there are situations like this, which is hard to see. This screen is actually showing you a wooden floor with the step down of about 4 inches onto the tile. And if you're standing at this position or standing up on that wood floor, it's very difficult to see, right? So I would add a strip of color along that edge. And make sure that there was good lighting on that. One thing we don't want to forget is also making sure that you wear shoes with a non-slip bottom. Here's some night lights that are great. The bright white light is going to help us see better overall in the daytime, but if you have any difficulties with sleeping, you might consider the amber tone, the picture down there on the right. The red, amber, yellow, all of those tones are less likely to disrupt our sleep. Because it doesn't affect our melatonin levels. The bright white light will cause the melatonin levels to drop and keep you more awake. So the amber is great for night lights in your bedroom, bathroom kind of path. And this looks kind of awkward, but with this actually, it's a picture of a light with magnification, and it's really just the kind that you could screw on to the edge of your desk. So something like that could work, and especially if you do have trouble seeing fine motor, tiny things like putting your pill boxes together, something like this could be very useful. There's one more sense, it's that sixth sense that we're going to talk about, and that's the one that was called proprioception. This one does not affect dementia development. It's got nothing to do, not like vision and hearing. Getting your vision and hearing corrected will help decrease your chances of developing dementia. We know that is a fact. Proprioception, I just wanted to include this because it has a big impact on your routine personal safety and your ability to control yourself or not as related to then fall prevention. So we'll take a look at a few pictures in a few minutes about things that you can do around your house. So again, this is our ability to detect where our body is in space with no vision, okay? We can go to the next slide. And we loved this guy. Well, I loved this guy. Hopefully you did too, at his athleticism. Michael Jordan. He has an incredible sense of proprioceptive skills, right? Because he knew, you look at the way he's moving, in his movement, he's preparing to throw the ball and it's going to go in. So he is kind of the ultimate at balance, coordination, and proprioceptive skills. So just wanted to show you a picture of him. I know none of us are like Michael Jordan, but it's nice to see someone who excels in these areas. Okay, and next. So this proprioception, which is a long word that most of us don't have in our regular vocabulary unless you happen to be kind of in this therapeutic world. But what can you do if you feel that you have a problem with proprioception? You could join one of Megan's yoga classes. Yoga does help because it's causing weight bearing and shifting of movement in your joints. Also something like Tai Chi or Taekwondo. Resistive training is good. Also doing things like planks, push-ups, because you're really pushing a lot of weight onto the joints. If you feel that you have a greater problem with your ability to kind of move in space, you'd want to see a professional, an occupational therapist who deals with sensory impairments and or a physical therapist with balance retraining. And so the reason you don't want to try some of these things alone is because in the clinic, what you'll be doing is things like standing on a foam mat, and then you'll be standing on a foam mat with your eyes closed, and then the therapist will be pushing you as long as you can maintain your, and then having you try to catch your balance with your eyes closed on that uneven surface. And so anyways, just wanted to give you an update on that in case that's something that you wanted to address. And here's a picture of a little home because we're going to take a look at a few things to make your home just a little bit safer. and the bathroom, actually showering and getting off of the toilet are the two most dangerous activities in the house, okay? Stairs are included there too. The bathroom is slippery and wet. Often people have their glasses off, there's no footwear to grab and have traction. So a lot of times my clients will say, well, I want to put bars in my bathroom, but I'm not sure where to put them. So I want to give you just a picture of how, in general, they should be installed. And so the bar that's up and down on the wall is something that you would initially hold on to, right? If you have to step over a little bit of a threshold. So you're holding on to that as you're balancing to step in. And then ideally, you'll be able to grab that bar on the far wall and have support there too. So it's hand-hand. The one in the front is if you're sitting in a chair, or if you're closing your eyes as you're rinsing shampoo, you will also have something to hold on to. And that's really key. You want to have points of contact when your vision is not at its best when you're bathing. And the next slide just gives us some brief ideas on the width of bars. 36 inches is good, usually for the ones that we saw on the long wall. They may need to be at a bit of a diagonal in order to hit the studs. Your contractor could help you with that. About 3 feet from the floor up is usually a good level for most people, depending on how tall they are. And you'll notice the one on the front, again, that's about 24 inches from the floor, the vertical bar. So just a brief overview on that. Maybe we'll do another talk and get a little more into that at another time. Another simple way to improve your safety in showering, and this is really critical because this is where the injuries occur. Again, you want to have a non-slip mat outside. And the one outside is the first one that you see. That's the gray one with the lines on it. And that's a memory foam mat. I particularly like those because they're heavier. And as you step out of the shower or tub, you're going to have that sensory input, right, coming into the bottom of your feet. And that's going to help ground us and feel balanced. All right, so that's on the outside. The inside, kind of the same idea, but I like the loop of it because, again, that's giving a different type of sensory input, but sensory input through the bottom of your feet while you're in the shower, and also with that non-slip surface. Okay, and a few other fun items that are easy to install. So these you could just do on your own. The one on the left just is called a tub clamp. It just screws onto the side of your tub. This is great to hold on to as you're stepping in and out, and even as you're showering, because it's pretty tall actually. Some are a little bit taller, but you could basically hold on to that as you're rinsing your hair or face and have that point of contact. Those are easily bought, through Amazon, but they're also just at regular drugstores now, CVS and Walmart. You can get them. They used to be specialized, but not anymore. The other is a standard pole. That was the man who's sitting on the toilet there. Those are very easy to install. That you just kind of screw them together. And my mother was not doing well when she was in her mid-90s. And so I was like, you know what, I think you should benefit from one of these poles. And so anyways, I sent it up to her in New York, and my sister and brother-in-law installed it for her. But these two really never do any sort of installation at their house. So I was kind of concerned if it was going to be too much for them. It was very easy. It was just putting pieces together and tightening. They said it was no problem whatsoever. So again, that's a standard pole. And of course, when I went up to see my mother, I had to check and make sure everything was good. They're really great. Some people use these for getting off the couch, any surface, out of the bed. They work really nice. You just have to, of course, not have a drop ceiling, and they only go a certain height. So you'd have to check the height of your ceiling. And if you feel that you need a little more support, sitting and bathing is a good idea. Sometimes it's not necessarily because of balance. It could be weakness, low endurance, it could be pain. Whatever your specific need is, these are nice solutions that you can actually enjoy the bathing process. The one on the left is considered a shower chair. The key here is you want something that has adjustable legs. So someone who is 6'4" could sit in it comfortably without feeling like they're sitting on the floor, and someone who's 5'2". I do like those that have arm supports. The shower chairs do come with arm supports, and often they're in a different color, which is nice. So there's a sharp contrast and easy to see. The tub bench is, thank you, Anne. The tub bench is designed for people who have trouble stepping over into the tub at all. So you just sit on the edge and scoot over. Again, it has adjustable legs, and there are shower curtains that actually come with a cut in there so they can be tucked in and no water slips out. And then just for general safety, here's a picture of 2 chairs. You see what the no chair is on the left. I think your grandkids probably would love that chair, right? Spinning and rolling around. Not good for adults. High risk of falls. It's easy to slip out from behind us. So I'd recommend choosing a chair like the dining room chair here. It's got a full back support, nice solid arm supports like the chair I'm sitting in. Sometimes they're too low for a person, so you could add a nice dense cushion to raise that up a little bit, and that would help with the rising and sitting. There's also blocks that can be placed on the bottom of chairs like this to also raise it up a few inches. If you need help, let us know. We will definitely help you. Just put a comment in the chat. And this is a throw rug. Again, I just had to include that. We want to eliminate the cute throw rugs. Heavy rugs, you know, on the floor, secured by furniture with a low pile are generally fine. But the little rugs that kind of slip and slide around in front of the sink and stuff like that, it's really just not worth having those because as we're walking through, as you do the walk-through phase and your foot comes this way, the tip of your foot just catches that unexpectedly and then causes a trip and a fall. So kind of a good idea not to use those. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the sense of smell. All people smell differently. Some people can smell literally everything in the refrigerator if they open the door. Others, not so much. So just be mindful to make sure that you have working smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. Read the labels and understand the expiration date on food. Usually we'd be able to smell smoke and chemicals and rotten food, but some of our clients, we found that it's very helpful to have a label of when food is going to expire, for example. Just put a little sticker on there, and so it's pretty clear in bold print and sharp contrast in a large font to say, you know, get rid of this after whatever date, and that will help keep healthy food in the refrigerator and freezer so nobody gets sick. All right, and if you're losing things, this is a very simple way. You could do the trackers, of course. We talk about those in different classes, but you could give yourself a visual cue. And so whatever color you like, we know the yellow and the reds and the oranges are better for aging eyes, but if you like one of these colors better, just take that and wrap it around whatever it is that's causing you pain. So it could be you're losing your wallet a lot, or you can't find the remote control because it's black and it's sitting on the dark couch. So whatever it is, just a little piece of tape around there can help a lot. Water bottles, we've had a few people talk about how they never lose their water bottles because they've just added a piece of tape around it. So it's a simple solution and pretty easy. You could also put that on one of your thresholds. If there's a place in your house that you're kind of concerned about, that your loved one's gonna maybe trip or has tripped and caught themselves, you could just put a piece of tape like that across the threshold. So let's remember the research that we talked about. Cataracts, right? Getting those cataracts removed can lower the dementia risk by 30%, and a significant improvement by wearing reading glasses. So we know that by wearing reading glasses, you can reduce your cognitive impairment. So it actually improved the scores on cognitive testing when people had their glasses on. So give that a try. And we did talk about exercise and the importance for that, but be gentle with yourself. We're all at different levels of fitness. We're not like Megan, who can, perform these incredible movements and has been practicing yoga for probably most of her life. So just start slow, a little bit of walk outside, a little walk around your house, and just build up to that 150 minutes a week if you can. You can keep a little scorecard and see how you do, and try to do some weight-bearing exercises. And again, the exercise is really important for our brain because we like that oxygenated blood going through the cerebral vessels, right? The vessels in our brain. We need that good blood going through our brain to help keep that tissue healthy, just like other parts of our body. I'm going to give you 3 goals for the new year. It's still the new year because we're still in January. So 3 health or brain goals for the new year is scheduling 3 appointments for you or your loved one. So number 1, get the hearing checked, right, by an audiologist. If you think you're experiencing something beyond that, ear, nose, and throat doctor. You can probably get in with the audiologist easier first, so maybe you could do that, see what the audiologist says, and then on to the ENT. Also get your vision checked by an ophthalmologist. Make sure that they're going to do the dilation of your eyes so they can check for disease processes, and hopefully if there is something, then they will be able to help you solve that. And then always follow up with your primary care physician. So only 3 things. Thank you very much, and I appreciate you listening, and wish you and your family a very healthy 2026.